You're listening to CFRU 93.3 FM in Guelph and online at cfru.ca. My name's Alex. I'm your host today for a very special episode as we're featuring a live in-studio performance from the Guelph-based collective Versa. They are an audio-visual collective, and their show today is going to be including the visual components. So I would highly recommend going to our YouTube channel so you can live stream the whole performance. It's going to be super cool. So that's at youtube.com/CFRU radio. So I'd like to properly introduce the band today, as we have in the studio with us Monika Hauk. Hello.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. And Alex Ricci.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Alex. And Will Culbert.
Hello.
Hi. You guys sound great. Wonderful. Thanks so much for coming in and treating us to a sample of your live show. Do you want to tell listeners what each of your roles are in the collective?
I'm primarily in charge of doing the visuals, so as Alex and Will and the rest of our bandmates in typical performance are performing music, I'm sort of responding to the music and also capturing a live feed of the audio and its responsive cymatic physical effect on a basin of liquid that I'm dropping ink into, and then in a performance it's being projected live for the audience to see. So I'm primarily the visual generator.
Got it.
Or something.
And Alex?
I play bass guitar, very much not like a bass guitar. I loop a whole bunch of different layers of bass. I play the low stuff, I play the mid stuff, and I play high stuff as well, and like some like big guitar solo lead type stuff even. So I play bass, but I also just as much do a tap dance on a pedal board, and occasionally a little bit of sampler.
Cool. And Will, what about you?
Well, I play drums, and I will also be playing the role of Puck today.
Puck, as in...
like Shakespeare.
Right. I was hoping you were going there. Awesome. And you've just released your debut album today, is that right?
That's right.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So it's today, March 23rd, 2018. And we're going to be hearing and seeing you play very shortly. But Alex, you started to do this. I was wondering how you would describe your sound to listeners, what audiences can expect.
Okay. We typically say experimental, which can mean like a whole bunch of different things. But if you want some musical comparisons, post-rock, like Do Make Say Think in particular, Godspeed You Black Emperor, Explosions in the Sky, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have like a bit of a jazz influence, although I am not a huge jazz listener, so maybe Will wants to draw some comparisons.
Oh boy.
Sometimes I say we sound like the band Can a little bit.
Yeah, Can is in there.
And then we also have an electronic thing going on too. Less so today, but in our full band setup, we do have like a bunch of synth stuff going on, and then some sampled drum beats mixing with Will's live drum beats as well.
Great. And that leads me to my very next question, actually. I was about to ask if this is your usual lineup, or if there are other members in the collective that you perform with as Versa?
This is essentially the core. Will's been with us pretty much since the very beginning of the project in 2015, but we sort of have a revolving cast of performers sort of based on what kind of gig we're playing or what sort of direction we want to go. So in the past we've had like up to 2 saxophones, and we more usually also have a synth player as well.
Our synth player Todd Harrison is like a very regular member, but he also has a full-time job and a couple of kids and lives in Toronto, so it's tough for him to get here for an afternoon radio appearance.
For sure.
But we like to be able to respond to sort of different scenarios, so we make sure that we have like a sort of tight-knit outfit like today where it's just the 3 of us, and we can expand up to like 5 or 6 members depending on everyone's availability and everything like that. So it's kind of a mixed bag all around, whatever way you shake it.
Very cool. Do you want to play a song for us now?
Sure do.
Okay, what song are you going to be playing?
The song is called This Is Where We Disappear, and it is on our album that we just put out today. And we even have a music video for it.
Great. And so you are listening to CFRU 93.3 FM, online CFRU.ca, and live video streaming on youtube.com/CFRU. Here is Versa. CFRU.ca and CFRU 93.3 FM in Guelph. That was the band Versa playing their song This Is Where We Disappear from their brand new self-titled album that's out today, March 23rd. Thanks for that. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
So we're also getting to experience the visual component of Versa today live in studio. Again, you can check that out on CFRU's YouTube channel. I was wondering if you could tell people, Monique, I guess this is a question for you, if you want to tell people more about this integral aspect to your performance.
Yeah, so it sort of started out at sort of a funny time. You know what, maybe that's getting too far back into the history. Basically what I'm doing is I have a basin of liquid, and it's on top of a transducer speaker. So it's basically just picking up the vibrations of an audio signal as opposed to the actual sort of sound. So that speaker is picking up the audio frequency from Alex as he's playing bass. And I'm also sort of looping certain sections because there are certain frequencies of audio that create better vibrational patterns in the liquid that you would see if you're tuned in on the YouTube stream. To illustrate those, I'm also dropping ink into this liquid so it's sort of animated, and then I'm also recording it using 2 cameras and a video mixer, so you sort of get the full sense of the audio translation. And then between songs, I also capture a mono print by placing a piece of paper on top of the liquid surface, and then it sort of picks up all of the ink, and the cymatic patterns are reflected in the mono print.
Can you hold it up for the folks watching at home?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. This seems everything's so disjointed. Yeah, there it is. There's a print. So, and for listeners, it's basically just a really psychedelic, colorful looking print, and it's both biomorphic and microscopic and space-like at the same time.
So this is like a really like an organic representation, visual representation of what music is being played in a way.
Yes, absolutely. That would be the succinct way to say it. Still something I'm learning how to do.
So you mentioned it's called marbling, is that right?
Yes, yeah. It's a traditional paper or a printmaking technique. So back in the day, they would use it for money because it can't be the sort of linear patterns. They would print it onto money and important documents because if it were forged, you would be able to tell also like insides of old books. So it's a very ancient process.
And I've seen after your performances, you sometimes have those prints, the paper copy that like after you've, I guess, picked up that print or that pattern on the paper during the show, those prints are often something that you make available for sale?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's essentially one-of-a-kind art that also becomes our merch. So after a show, if you stick around long enough and wait for it to dry, you can take home a piece of artwork that you witnessed effectively at the show.
That's really cool.
And whenever possible, we try and pair the audio with the visual. So usually we slip a little download code in there or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do any other band members ever try out the marbling process?
With very little success. Sometimes I'll drop some ink. I'm terrified of actually pulling a print. I feel like so much can go wrong. Monika makes it look so easy, but I usually stay away from that. I'll sometimes help out with some visual stuff after the fact, like deciding what to do with the prints, cutting them up, taking pictures of them, that sort of thing. But I don't know. Will, do you ever mess around with that?
Not really. I mean, Alex and Monika also have done visuals for other bands, and often for music festivals like Kazoo Fest. So, like, Alex will do visual stuff in those performances, but it's a very different process that they use because we're kind of trademarking this one for Versa.
Yeah, we use all the same live video gear. So we have a Roland video mixer. We have a couple of camcorders pointing at, in this case, Monika's bath. For our live visuals for other bands, we point those cameras at a bunch of paper that we manipulate. We also sample some video clips from public domain footage or stuff that we've made at home. So that's sort of the expanded version of Versa, where we're doing sort of similar in the same vein psychedelic visuals for other bands. And we'll be doing it coming up at Kazoo Fest in addition to our own performance.
Yes, I'm going to be asking you more about the Kazoo Fest shows where people can catch you playing. I was wondering, kind of going back a little bit to the marbling and the visual component, like, is that very similar to the songwriting process? Like, it seems like the visual component is very organic, intuitive, improvised. Are there any major similarities or differences, I guess, with the songwriting process?
There are definitely some similarities. I mean, for one, we try to write songs and visuals alongside each other. So, for instance, I will be working on new stuff. Monika will be working alongside me, figuring out what the visuals might look like for that song, what the color palette might be, and that sort of visual stuff definitely influences the way I, sort of the path I take and the way I choose to finish the song from there. There's also the necessity of creating cymatic frequencies for the visuals in order to create more like dramatic moments within what's being projected. So that's definitely something that comes into play when we're writing songs. We sort of as we're writing, we'll test out to see what the cymatics are looking like as we go, and make decisions in the songwriting process based on that. And then as far as just like conceptual similarities, we very much write music by improvising. So oftentimes we'll start out our band practice by turning on a Zoom recorder and just like jamming for 10 minutes and seeing what happens. And then I'll go back and review that stuff, cut it up, choose the stuff that I like from it, and we'll turn that into a song.
Really, really cool. And so would you say that there's a primary songwriter then, or is it very like you two are both integral to the process? You're both primary songwriters.
We're all kind of primary. You seem like you have something to say.
No,
about
it's
this.
okay. I think that for the most part, it is a very directly collaborative process, but there's a lot of the songwriting aspect that, you know, I don't necessarily insert myself into. So I think that for the musicians that are involved, it's sort of Alex takes the reins there, and then we also do, as he mentioned, work with a lot of sort of improvised. We sort of refine improvised material that has been worked out at a band practice. But in terms of like making decisions and like choosing a direction and choosing like certain, I mentioned that certain frequencies are better cymatically. That's sort of where I like to insert myself as a songwriter.
Yeah, you can think of Monika and I as like the main producers in a way. Okay. We're making a lot of decisions. Whether Monika writes the idea or not, she's still very involved in deciding which idea sticks, which idea maybe gets scrapped, the direction that we should go, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And for me, it's also sort of an interesting process because I don't actually have a strong musical background, so I sort of approach it with a certain naivete, for lack of a better word, that sort of opens up new directions or more innovative processes, I think. I like to think that anyways. It's good to have outside ears. So I sort of like to distance myself to a certain extent until, I have an opinion about something.
Right.
Which is often.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Well, what got you started originally? How did Versa come together?
It was actually in response to Kazoo Fest's Look Here grant back in 2015. And when I was talking earlier about not getting too deep into the history, that's sort of what I was alluding to is, Alex and I were both sort of in between visual projects and musical projects. And I was just getting into paper marbling at the time. And the Look Here grant sort of presented itself as a good opportunity to sort of bring our disciplines together, which is not something that we had done before. We've sort of been practicing our passions separately up until that point, but it sort of presented a really good opportunity for us to see what happens. And now here we are 3 years later releasing our first album.
So the Kazoo Look Here grant. It's a micro grant that joins up audio and visual components. Like they're looking for artists who have both of those. Is that right?
That's correct.
So that must have been really serendipitous. If you're both working on those things separately, this is a great opportunity to come together.
It totally inspired the idea for our band. We were sort of like, oh, this grant looks really cool. We're like active community members in like with Kazoo already. We sort of like wanted to find a way to be more involved, and this way this project sort of like just sprung up out of the opportunity that the grant presented. We sort of brainstormed a whole bunch of ideas, and this was the best idea that we came up with. We did like a couple quick tests to see if cymatics and paper marbling actually worked together, and then we submitted the video footage of those tests, and
which I would not show anybody now.
No,
Brad,
no.
If you're out there, like destroy those files.
Destroy the evidence.
Yeah, so that's sort of where it came from. It's just an opportune moment in between our disciplines, and a good accumulation of community support for multidisciplinary art.
And we decided to ask the busiest drummer in Guelph to be in our band with us right at the beginning. And I don't know, the timing must have been pretty lucky because Will does play in a whole bunch of other bands, Future Peers and Thunderbird, and he still for some reason said yes to us. And he's played almost every show that we've ever played, which is now over 50.
Oh, well over 50.
Well over 50, maybe 60 shows.
Wow.
So yeah, we're happy to get him.
Yeah.
Yay! Thanks, Kazoo.
Shout out to Will.
Yeah, I guess coming full circle then, you got started through Kazoo. You're going to be performing at Kazoo Fest. This is a music festival happening in Guelph between April 11th and 15th. When can people catch your performance?
We will be playing April 13th, Friday, April 13th, at Kazoo HQ.
At 9 p.m.?
Yeah, 9 p.m., that's right.
Okay, and if,
I know our schedule, clearly.
if listeners want to check out those details as well as the other lineup, you can go to kazookazoo.ca for that. Do you guys feel like playing another song?
Yeah, for sure.
Great. And what one do you want to play for us next?
This is called 1001 Nights.
1001 Nights. Great. On CFRU 93.3FM, CFRU.ca, and live video streaming on youtube.com/CFRU. Take it away. CFRU 93.3 FM in Guelph. That was Versa playing 1001 Nights. Thanks, guys. That was great.
Thank you.
Now, that song is not actually on the new album. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. It's our favorite song to play live, and it's one that hopefully people who have come to see us play are sort of starting to recognize. So I don't know. We always play it when we have the chance.
Yeah.
It always gets a lot of claps.
Nice. Yeah. And where can people hear that if they wanted to look that up? Is it online?
It is on Bandcamp. versavisuals.bandcamp.com, I believe.
So definitely sounds better at Kazoo Fest.
Yes, and again, that show is happening Friday, April 13th at Kazoo headquarters at 9 p.m., 127 Woolwich Street. So looking forward to that. Are you going to be checking out any of the other performances happening over Kazoo Fest?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Wednesday and Thursday, I feel like we're kind of spoiled being from Guelph. We can kind of go to everything. But Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday's Mauno and Thursday Faith Healer. I'm definitely excited for both of those shows. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be holding down the fort at 10C on Saturday, doing some visuals, doing some sort of projector tech for people that already have visuals. So we'll be seeing that whole show as well for sure.
When's Eschaton playing?
I'm not sure when they're playing exactly. They're amazing. They're our buddies from Hamilton. They have like a very, very free, jazzy, experimental project, Eschaton, or however you want to say it.
It looks like they're also playing Friday, April 13th. But they will be at 10:15 p.m.
I had a feeling.
The E-Bar, so we can catch your show and maybe run over there.
Everybody just learned how to teleport already.
Yes.
I'd love that.
Just for the week. Just for the week.
You need it at Kazoo Fest.
If I could only teleport for 1 week out of the year, it would be during Kazoo Fest.
Totally.
If also I could survive on no sleep for 1 week out of the year.
That would definitely be a bonus.
Yeah. Will, you're already pretty good at that.
Yeah. 5 months. 5 months strong.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the new album, your debut album that's out today. Are there physical copies of it? Are you gonna have it with you at your Kazoo Fest show?
Yes, we have physical copies on CD and also VHS. The VHS are actually not quite done yet. We're working on them, but they're not ready. So Kazoo is definitely going to be the first time that you can get one of those. But CDs are ready and probably available on Bandcamp, or soon will be.
Cool. And the songwriting process, you talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. Is that very similar to your recording process? What was the recording process like?
That's a good question. It's sort of like, this album is interesting because we just stuck a whole bunch of different sessions together and then sort of mixed them all to be consistent. So it started actually in Toronto. Monika and I were living in Toronto. We were recording at Royal Mountain Studio with a producer named Niles Mazichik. And we did that, in 2016?
16, yeah.
Mid 2016. We recorded This Is Where We Disappear and 5. And we sort of like finished them, even mixed them. We put out This Is Where We Disappear, but we held back 5. And we sort of took both of those songs, remixed them to varying degrees, and then put them on this album. We also had a song that we recorded in Will's basement, which was our rehearsal space. And Tyson Brinicombe of
every band
in Guelph ever, he came over and recorded that one for us, and then we again mixed it and put it on the album. So the mixing and the recording of the remaining songs took place at Copper Sound Studio, which is an awesome new production suite and cozy studio in Guelph by Exhibition Park. It's run by David Stein, and he sort of like was able to take all of these different sessions and recordings and turn them into something that sounded consistent throughout.
We were really focused on sort of like taking these different sessions and making them consistent, but also with a real focus on attention to detail and a strong sort of dynamic listening experience. Because our live performance is one thing, but we wanted to be able to do, the sort of a similar thing but different for a recorded environment. So we really took a lot of time digging in and like rehashing details and going over things and breaking things apart and putting them back together in new ways. So it's definitely a labor of love, and it's meant to be listened to loud and in headphones and on long drives. So we sort of wanted to make like an album that would reflect our favorite things about listening to some of our favorite instrumental projects.
So you said that this initially the recording process started back in 2016.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So you must feel pretty good about getting this released today.
Two years later, and here it is.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, like, you have your whole life to make your first album. We didn't want to rush it. And I think that like just taking our time with it means that we can be really proud of what we've put out. We also, like, through this process have recorded a bunch of other songs that we decided not to put on this album. So we're sort of working on part 2 already, and it's maybe like a third of the way done. So
and it will serve as like a healthy complement to this part 1.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, it started 2 years ago, but we weren't sure if releasing an album was like a good idea for us. With so much focus on the audio-visual component, we were like, how are we going to do this? We always want to pair the audio with the visuals. But as we dug into things at Copper Sound, it sort of just made sense. Like when we first started recording in Toronto, we just wanted to like get on the map a little bit. At that point, we had already played a bunch of shows, but there was no music online for us to, sort of build a following or to give people afterwards. So we didn't really know at the time that recording an album would be sort of the final product of this process.
You mentioned earlier that some of the bands that you might compare yourselves with is Explosions in the Sky, Do Make, Say Think, Can. Would you say that those bands have influenced you in your work?
Yes. I mean, for me, in particular, Do Make Say Think, I'm like such an avid fan and have been for many years. So that's sort of when we started Versa, that was sort of the thing that I was like, okay, this is a band that I love, and I'm gonna try to write songs like them. And I mean, I don't really think that our songs sound too much like Do Make Say Think, but that was what I was going for. So any of that rubbed off on our songwriting, I'm really happy about.
I think Do Make Say Think is a nice touch point in terms of the recorded musical environment. Like listening to, like, I want people to have the same experience listening to our album that I have listening to Do Make Say Think albums. I don't know. I mean, that's for the people to decide, but like that was my goal anyways. Maybe a bit more. I mean, yeah, we're not trying to be copycats either. They're just they're very close to our hearts, I think, as a collective.
What would you say, like, if you can articulate what it is about those bands that inspires you?
I really like instrumental music, and I find I mean I love vocal music too, but I find that I can really like enter the world of an instrumental artist in a way that I can't with a vocal artist. I feel like if I can like close my eyes and be totally immersed, and that's something that I sort of started appreciating more as I got older, as I got more music production experience, sort of trying to create that world or that environment within a sound recording. And I think above all else, that's the thing from those bands that I most appreciate and most wanted to sort of create with our project.
There's such a strong like dynamic energy on their recordings that is really like invigorating, and as far as like listening to music goes, you don't always get that all the time, and for me that's one of the things that I wanted to sort of capture somehow. But yeah, from their live performance to their recorded experience, they're just invigorating. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's the closest I'm going to get right now.
No, I get that. Yeah, and I totally get that from your performance as Versa. So I was wondering, in addition to that kazoo show that you've got coming up, where you're going to be featuring some of this new stuff, are you going on tour? Are you taking this music anywhere else?
We're going to play at Kazoo Fest first. We have a Toronto album release party the week after Kazoo Fest. And we're going to play at Empty Fest in Sarnia and an undisclosed London show. It will, for now, remain a secret, but I'm sure we'll let everybody know what it's going to be soon.
Yeah, we're sort of taking advantage of the weekends and not necessarily going on a traditional tour, but we have a spattering of shows to support the album. And yeah, touring's a sort of a big deal for us. We have so much stuff.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. How you've toured in the past as Versa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Basically, we just stuff my minivan from floor to ceiling with gear until we can't see out the back windshield anymore. And Will has a bunch of stuff on his lap, and then we go for it. And I mean, we can't really go on tour in that configuration with more than 4 people, but we have done that a couple of times, and it's worked. I mean, it's tough, but it works, and that's sort of where we're at until we decide to get a larger vehicle, or a bus, or somebody else takes us on tour that has one of those things.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I hope the tour goes very well. I'm really looking forward to seeing you at Kazoo Fest. Again, for our listeners, you can check out all the details, kazookazoo.ca. And Versa will be performing on the Friday, the 13th.
Can't forget that one.
Can't forget it. Friday the 13th, 9 p.m. at Kazoo headquarters. And folks can also check out your music on your Bandcamp page. You were saying that's Versa Visuals?
Yeah, I mean, actually, maybe the best place to go is our website because it's more easy to remember, and it has the Bandcamp player right on it. So that's versavisuals.com.
Great. And people will be able to also check out the video that we've been streaming on YouTube, CFRU's YouTube channel. It's been really great. So yeah, after the live show today, you'll be able to go back and take a look at that. Do you want to play one more song for us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We'll play 5. And if you're looking at the back of our album and following along, it's a V, but it means 5.
But we're only playing one more song, not 5 more songs.
We're playing one more song. The song is called 5. It's approximately 6 minutes long. Those are all the numbers that you need to know.
Perfect. All right, so on CFRU 93.3 FM, CFRU.ca, and live on our CFRU YouTube channel, this is Versa with the song 5. CFRU 93.3 FM in Guelph. You just heard the song 5, performed live in studio. That was by Versa, and you can also find that on their brand new debut album that's out today, self-titled album. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Alex.
So I just want to wrap up. I wanted to thank everybody, Monica, Alex, and Will. That was really awesome, and wish you luck on your upcoming tour. I also want to thank our operations coordinator, Brian, and volunteers, Max and Nick, for helping out today.
Yay,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I think that if you're okay with this, I'm going to play another song from your album, one of the recorded songs to play us out. If you had to pick, like we've heard, This Is Where We Disappear at the start of the show, and we just heard 5. Is there one that you might want to request?
Well, I like Sapphire, but
That's what I was going to
Sapphire.
pick.
there you go.
Wonderful. We're all in agreement
Wow,
then.
unanimous.
So Sapphire it is.
Unspoken unanimity.
Unanimity.
Unanimity. Awesome. Well, thanks again, everyone. Here is Sapphire from Versa's new self-titled album on CFRU.